It's no secret that the Oceanis 45 was popular. With over 800 of them sold and plying the world's oceans, it quickly became a staple in world cruising for space and luxury, a benchmark on how comfortable living on a sailboat could be. So in 2017, when it came time to replace the aging design, Beneteau, the world's largest boat manufacturer, had their work cut out for them, and they made this. At the Annapolis Spring Boat Show, Beneteau treated us to a tour of this boat, the 461, where the Oceanis 45 found so much success with its LOA of 45.5 feet. The new yacht is 48, 2.5 feet longer. The beam remains the same though at almost 15 feet, but the 46 now has twin rudders for more traction. Where the Oceanis 45 made do with 21,000 pounds, the new 461 is 23,500. But new is not always more. Where the 45 gave us 151 gallons of fresh water, the new boat only gives us 98. Perhaps a nod to the common practice of installing a water maker, though on the new boat, I'm not sure exactly where you'd put it. Let's have a look and see if we can figure it out. Through the fold-down transom, the cockpit on this boat is massive, keeping with what we'd expect from an Oceanis yacht. But note something different here. There are no coach-top winches. Everything, even the halyards, are run aft to the electric coaming winches for ease of short-handed sailing. This is aimed squarely at a cruising couple. A nice idea, but in place of the coach-top arrangement are two cushions. Beneteau calls them sun loungers, and in the press photos they look very nice. They even have integrated cup holders, but in practice, we'd obviously be fitting a Dodger to a boat like this, which means you can't sit on these loungers, and they're too short to lay on unless you dangle your feet over the edge. So what are they for? The kids, perhaps? Don't get me wrong, I'm not demanding coach-top winches here. With the glass arch, the main sheet is overhead, so I don't mind Beneteau making different use of this coach-top space. I just think they could have done something else with it. As soon as you add the Dodger, it feels a lot less useful. Not sure what else they could have done here, but I'd like to see where it is 5 years from now. Moving forward, we have stainless handholds everywhere and a clean side deck to traverse, passing the glass arch, pausing to look at the rig. In-mast furling is standard, and we get 3 options for the spar. The standard 66-footer of aluminum, a performance Beneteau First Series option, 3 feet taller, that comes in carbon fiber, or an ICW-friendly 63-footer. I like that. Headed forward, we note the self-tacking jib track, a chain plate for a Solent stay, and an integral anchor roller that Beneteau seems to love doing now on the bowsprit. This does limit which anchor you might use, as a straight shank Rockna, the most common anchor in the cruising world, may not fit aboard. While the rig on this model is tall and complex, it is simple enough that it wouldn't be hard to retune if you had to take it down. But it is also deck stepped, which Beneteau likes to do. Remembering that this boat's comfort ratio places it squarely in the coastal cruiser realm and not a full-on ocean crosser, we move on. We get the externally mounted chain plate we talked about on the Practical Sailor Facebook page here, which I like. Being able to inspect and replace as needed is excellent. We get proper swage fittings and a small bulwark all the way around to make the boat easier to navigate at a heel. Headed back to the massive cockpit, it seems like a good time to talk about performance. She's a chined hull, which makes her comfortable sitting at a specific heel, and the heel comes in 2 options, a 6-footer friendly to the East Coast, or the First Series with its 8-foot fin with bulb. Every sailing test of this boat said the same thing. She's extremely fast, over 14 knots in high 20s, and a lot of fun. Beneteau has figured out comfort and how to go very fast when you want to. The loss of coach-top winches and everything led aft actually works very well in the real world as tested, and she's easily handled by just a team of 2 people. I won't bang on about the massive cockpit too much, but I will note the 2 pieces of broken teak in this storage cubby. Moving on. The companionway board slides down into a cubby, which is excellent use of space, as long as that cubby drains somewhere reasonable. I suspect the bilge. Stopping to admire the coach top cushions, Beneteau says you can take these up on the forward deck for sun lounging, which would be nice if you need space away from the crowd of people in your cockpit. I found myself admiring the plastic covers over all the lines here, but also wondering how you might clean underneath them. As the lines track water into the cavities, how hard are they to remove so we can pressure wash the undersides? Headed inside, the Beneteau rep pointed out that this is the 3-cabin model that pushes the galley forward. The 2-cabin has a conventional U-shaped galley. If you know me at all, you'll know I stopped here to count the seams in the cabin sole, and there are a lot of them. I've talked about this in previous videos, how manufacturers are doing this now. No single piece of sole is bigger than usually a few feet, and typically it translates to a creaky sole underfoot. It's noisy, and in some cases it creates edges in the panels that actually trip you up a bit. I didn't find this in a Beneteau, but I did find it in Bavaria. The starboard inside, we get a very nice sized double aft cabin connected to the starboard head, which is also a very large size. Moving forward, we see the U-shaped settee with the DC panel behind it. This is interesting. Putting the panel here is kind of different. I wonder how many things would fall into this void, landing on the expensive instrument faces. Everything on this back countertop would end up landing in here, and if not breaking things, it would possibly be pushing buttons, turning things on and off as we sailed. You'd really have to remove everything from this space before you sail. Maybe a fiddle would have helped. I just can't see this working in the real world very well. The galley on this boat is huge, and it has equal counter space to the kitchen I have in my house. And as an executive style cruising boat, I can see this being very useful as being part of the social atmosphere if you're entertaining guests inside after a wonderful day out in the water. Cabinetry is a veneer with plastic parts, but it feels solid and well put together. Moving past the compression post, which is not very obtrusive at all, we find the master stateroom, a massive place with 2 wet rooms, a shower to starboard, and a head to port. This space is monstrous with so much beam. There is even space on either side of the bed for more storage. While I'm usually not one for sleeping up front in a choppy anchorage, this is a very spacious and nice place to be. Roomy, airy, and light. And I note the fit and finish in here. It's nice. It doesn't feel cheap. It's very well put together and really highlights Beneteau's decades of experience building executive style boats like this. Executive style. Is that a thing? I think it should be. It feels like a nice hotel room in here, and everything is provided for you, even a TV that pops up out of the cabinetry. Every panel is so precisely cut, and it all fits in a modern and chic interior. Until we get to the fridge. Beneteau has done what many do now. Instead of a nice marine-made isotherm or something similar, they put in this dorm room fridge behind a veneer door and then create a fitting that ties the door to the fridge. It works right now. But what's going to break first? The fridge or this custom fitting that ties the doors together? I mean, it's just some aluminum angle and 2 screws. I'm sure I could replicate that if I had to. I'd just rather have a proper fridge. The freezer is still traditional and provides a good amount of space and is top loading, and the recessed hinges are a nice touch. Look at the level of fitment here, CNC cut and perfect every time. This is really nice. Taking a peek at the other aft stateroom, we have to pop the hood to reveal a shiny new Yanmar. Standard is a 57, but she options up to an 80 horsepower model if you want to spend the bucks. We'll talk about the bucks in a minute. A tidy install, but it's tight and lacking insulation, which I kind of wonder about. Access panels are provided in the sides to the drivetrain in the aft cabins, as we've come to expect on these newer boats. Well, this boat starts from factory at around $350,000. We found optioned up versions upwards of $600,000 for sale today, a testament to what the manufacturers are willing to do these days with new boats. It isn't a one-size-fits-all industry anymore. The customizations are almost endless in a made-to-order kind of way, and while extremely pricey, that's a nice thing. You can spec one of these to fit whatever your plan is to use it for. When these hit the used market, you'll really have to check the spec sheet to find out how the boat you're looking at was ordered, and that's kind of exciting. Well, this is a boat tour video. It's nice to see what else is out there for comparison's sake. The nearest fit we could find was the very similarly targeted Bavaria C45 in the executive style we were talking about, coming in at just shy of 600,000. Coming in at the same LOA, almost the same beam, and just a few thousand pounds heavier, the Bavaria is a very similar boat. Twin helm, but a single rudder on this one, and almost the same executive style. The C45 also gives us the lack of coach top winches, a 57 or 80 horsepower Yanmar, and 3 mast options, including standard, performance, and ICW friendly, a 6-foot keel, and an 8. By all metrics, these two might be confused as the same boat, the same two executive cruisers, but Bavaria gives us a proper fridge instead of the dorm fridge, and dare I say, a bit nicer interior, less seams in the sole, a proper location for DC instruments, with an albeit smaller master stateroom up front. Beneteau has some serious competition here, and to be honest, if I was shopping for an executive style 45, 46-foot cruiser, I think Bavaria may be giving the biggest manufacturer of sailboats in the world a run for their money here. I think we'll have to go find one of those C45s and give it a tour soon.